Hey, it's Stacy from Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs and the Gardening Simplified Show. And I'm spending this beautiful June day here in West Michigan helping you decide which of our Weigela is right for you, for your taste, for your space, for whatever you want it to do. Weigela is one of those classic old-fashioned plants. It seems like everyone remembers a Weigela in their grandmother's yard, their great-grandmother's yard. People just love them because, I mean, what's there not to love? They're absolutely covered in these gorgeous flowers. And over the years here at Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs, we've really changed the way that people think about Weigela. They are a lot more than they used to be. And there really is one for every taste in every space, from really small to really big, from foliage interest to flower interest. I don't know if we'll get to all of ours because we have a lot in the line, but I'm going to show you some highlights today. And what better place to start than with the OG, the classic, the one that started it all, Wine and Roses Weigela. Now, a lot of us don't even remember a world before Wine and Roses Weigela. But before this one came along, Weigela were just kind of a green foliage plant that bloomed for a few weeks in spring, late spring, early summer, and that was it. We found this beautiful plant in the Netherlands and brought it back to the US way back in the 1990s. And it was the first ever Weigela with this beautiful dark purpley black foliage and these bright pink flowers. And it took the world by storm. People went crazy for this plant. As you can see, Wine and Roses is rather a larger Weigela, but it was the first of its kind. And there's been many imitators and many other iterations of this plant since then. But you really can't go wrong with the original. It's super easy to find, a great plant for a hedge. And even beyond when the flowers start to fade in a few weeks, you get this really nice, attractive, dark purpley black foliage to keep it interesting in the landscape. So this glorious Weigela that I'm with right here is Checkmark Trilogy Weigela. And this is another one that took the world by storm a few years ago when we introduced it. Now, I will say, first of all, these plants are on the younger side. This does get a little bit bigger than what you're seeing here. But as you can see, no matter what age it's at, it is fabulous. So what makes this Weigela, Checkmark Trilogy, really special is that the flowers start out white, and as they age, they turn various shades of pink. So it looks like it has 3 different color flowers on it at once, like you're seeing here. But in fact, it's actually the same color flower that's just in 3 different states of aging. But the effect is amazing. People love this one. It has nice, clean green foliage. So you're not getting the dark foliage like some of the other ones that you're going to be seeing in this video, but it's more than worth it for this amazing flower display. Now, some of our Weigela, especially our newer selections, are more foliage Weigelas. So they still flower, but really the main reason to grow them is their foliage. And this right here is a perfect example. This is Bubbly Wine Weigela. And as you can see, the foliage is variegated, but it's not your typical variegated plant. It's yellow, it's green, it's purple. It has so much going on. And you can see that the flowers are just starting to fade. It's kind of at the tail end of its bloom. So it bloomed a few weeks earlier than the ones that you've already seen in this video. But the great thing about this is the flowers really don't matter that much because it's all about the foliage. And I love the way that this particular planting has been done kind of at the edge of this bed. And this is such a great way to use this plant because it stays nice and small and compact like this. I think these plants have been here for probably 5 or 7 years. I think these are our original plants. And this is really how they stay. They don't need a lot of maintenance. They don't need a lot of pruning. They just stay nice and dense and cute like this and look fabulous all season long. Bubbly Wine Weigela. So next up, this is Sonic Bloom Punch Weigela. Now this is one of the newest varieties in our Sonic Bloom series, but if you're not familiar with that, that was the first ever reblooming Weigela series. So it started with Sonic Bloom Pink. I think that's still our best seller, but Sonic Bloom Punch here is one of the newer varieties. And if you've been following us for a while, you know that when we introduce newer varieties into an old series, that means they are a substantial improvement. And Sonic Bloom Punch is no exception. So here it is in its, late spring, early summer bloom here in early June. And in a few weeks, say probably mid to late July, this is going to come roaring back, and it's almost as powerful a rebloom as the spring bloom was. So Sonic Bloom Punch Weigela will rebloom like this without any need to prune or trim it. It's a very, very low maintenance plant. And one of the things I love about this is the flower color is just so vivid, hence the punch name. I don't know that there are any other Weigela that have a flower color quite this bright and beautiful contrast with the leaves. Now, one thing you might notice about this particular planting is that it has actually been trimmed into a somewhat formal hedge. And that is an option with Weigela if you want that look. You just want to make that trim to get it more into this kind of square rectangular head shape immediately after this bloom. So in a couple weeks, you would come out here, you'd give it a trim, and then it will regrow out of that. And even though this is a reblooming Weigela, that will delay the rebloom somewhat, but you will get it later on. And that also gives the plant enough time to create another fabulous flowering cycle for next spring. So this is Sonic Bloom Punch. It's newer, but it is fabulous. So this is another one of our foliage Weigela. This is Venino Verde, and if you're not familiar with that term, it is a light, semi-sparkling Portuguese wine that's very crisp and refreshing. And we like this because it kind of talks about the green nature and purple nature of this plant. Now, as you can see, Venino Verde does flower. It has these kind of mauve-y red flowers, but really the main attraction on this one is this fabulous foliage. So when you come in close, you can see that it's purple and green variegated. This is not a variegation pattern that you see in very many other plants, certainly not Weigela. It grows naturally as this kind of nice rounded shrub. These have had a little bit of, let's say, suggestion that they should be a little bit tighter, but that just goes to show you that you can prune it however you want, and it's going to give you this nice long-lasting foliage interest, again, well past the time that the flowers have faded. Now, the plants behind me here are Sonic Bloom Red, and this was one of the original Sonic Bloom when we introduced it about, maybe 8 or 10 years ago. As you can see, these are very mature plants. And this kind of represents, I would say, the biggest that a Weigela can get. They obviously look a little bit bigger than they actually are because they're on this berm. But this is a big plant. It can be pruned to manage it smaller, but that makes it a great choice for a hedge, for screening, or if you have a lot of space and just want to turn it into something that's low maintenance, because like the rest of the Sonic Bloom series, this is reblooming. So this is what it looks like for its first bloom in late spring, early summer. Takes a little rest to put on new growth, and when it comes back, it gets covered in these flowers once again. Now, the thing that I really love about Sonic Bloom Red especially is that it attracts hummingbirds. All Weigela do, which isn't necessarily surprising when you look at the trumpet-like shape of their flowers. That is the flower shape that hummingbirds typically seek out. But of course, as we all know, hummingbirds especially love red. So it's a great choice for a hummingbird food source in your yard that you don't really have to think too much about, don't have to scrub the feeder, don't have to mix up the feed every week. Ask me how I know. But all Weigela will attract hummingbirds, and that is another great reason to plant them. So next up here is Sonic Bloom Wine Weigela. Now, I've already talked about the Sonic Bloom series a couple times. As you know, it is our reblooming Weigela series. They bloom in late spring, take a rest, come back again in about mid to late summer, and continue through frost. Sonic Bloom Wine is special because it's the only member of the Sonic Bloom series with dark foliage. So it kind of gets this purpley green foliage, contrasts beautifully with these bright pink flowers. And a cool thing about these flowers is that the inside is actually lighter than the outside. So it gives it almost like a two-toned or shimmering type of look. This is also a bigger plant. You can keep it smaller by pruning if you want. But again, you can also use that size to your advantage by landscaping a large house or putting it in your backyard or using it as a hedge. Now, the whole time that I have been sitting here talking about Sonic Bloom Wine Weigela, I have to confess, I have had a really hard time concentrating because of this plant right behind it. This is not a Weigela. This is Sweet Emotion Blaze Ailia. A lot of Aibelias are not very hardy. They only go down to about USDA Zone 6. Sweet Emotion is completely different. This is actually hardy down to USDA Zone 4, so it's a hardy Ailia. And the reason that I've had so much trouble trying to concentrate and talk to you about Sonic Bloom Wine is because the fragrance on this plant is, I mean, I don't even know the adjective, honestly. It is intoxicating. Adriana and I are out here just losing our minds at how amazing this smells. And it's one of those fragrances that just floats on the warm air. It's truly magical. It almost smells to me like jasmine tea. That's kind of probably the closest that I can describe. It's glorious. Now, the cool thing about this that I really love about this particular planting is Weigela are not fragrant. But if you pair it with a Sweet Emotion Blaze Ailia like this, you get that fragrance near your Ailia. It doubles your pleasure. It is a great companion plant for any Weigela. Another newer variety of Weigela here is Wine and Spirits. Now, this was developed right here in West Michigan by my friend and colleague, Megan Matai. And as you can tell, the cool thing about this, dark purpley black foliage and these bright white contrasting flowers. So this has an awesome look if you love that pop. I think this is a great choice for landscaping around a home because this kind of combination goes with just about anything. About a nice medium size here, so easy to use in the landscape, long blooming, not a rebloomer, but once again, even after the flowers fade, you're still gonna have this nice dark foliage to contribute interest. So if you've been gardening for a couple of years or perhaps decades, you might be familiar with my Monae Weigela. And much like Wine and Roses Weigela at the beginning of this video, it took the world by storm. No one had ever really seen a white and pink and green variegated Weigela, and it just had this nice compact habit, beautiful pink flowers. People loved it. The only problem that it really had was a very narrow range where it could grow. It wasn't super heat tolerant, it wasn't super cold tolerant, so not that many people could grow it. So we've been working on developing a version of my Monae Weigela that goes more places, that kind of makes up for some of those liabilities. And this is it. This is my Monae Purple Effect. So that's how you know it's different. The name Purple Effect comes from the fact that these leaves do take on a lot more kind of purpley tones, especially during cooler weather. Now, as you can see, the flowers on this plant are starting to fade. So this one would have bloomed earlier than the other ones that we've seen. But again, the flowers on this plant are almost secondary. They are pretty and they have beautiful contrast, but they really are almost secondary because you get this great, fabulous foliage all season long. Another really cool thing about my Monae and my Monae Purple Effect is that because the foliage is variegated and has all this white on its foliage, because the foliage is variegated and has all of these white margins, that actually makes it much more shade tolerant than our other Weigela. Most Weigela need full sun, at least 6 hours each day to bloom well and grow well. This is one of the most shade tolerant, so if you have part shade, I still wouldn't recommend it for deep shade, but if you have a part shade situation, it will be very, very happy. Another great thing about this one, it's probably one of our smallest. Very small, very tidy. This is about as large as this plant is gonna get. So it's a good choice if you live in a condo or an apartment and have small space, or you're just trying to do an edging, if you wanna plant under low windows. This is a good, versatile Weigela. So I know I just said that my Monae Purple Effect is one of our smallest Weigela. This one is smaller still. This is Midnight Sun Weigela. Now, you might be looking at it going like, well, that doesn't seem all that special. Why are you talking to me about this plant? Because you need to know how special this plant becomes. Obviously right now, it's perfectly lovely. It's got this kind of greenish red foliage, nice pink flowers, good flower set, nice compact habit. But the changes that this plant goes through as the season progresses are truly breathtaking. Now, I like Weigela, but I love this plant. Like, I am so crazy about this plant. So this is a plant that you have to have faith for. When you see it in the garden center in spring, you'll kind of be like, okay, yeah, that's pretty, but you know, what next? But it doesn't take long. It's not a fall color situation. As soon as this thing starts to, the flowers start to go down, even during the heat of summer, it starts to develop the wildest array of colors. Burgundy and green and yellow and pink. And that gives it to me so much interest in the landscape. It is really a great plant to watch go through those changes. There's really never a dull moment when Midnight Sun Weigela is planted. So again, you're gonna have a little faith that this plant is gonna become even more interesting as the season goes on, and you will be rewarded. Now, I've talked a couple of times when I've been talking about some of the other Weigelas about how they go with different house colors. This is a fabulous Weigela to go with brick. And I know sometimes when you have a brick home, the color can be really hard to match. It can be hard to find something that doesn't clash. And I think this is perfect, whether you have brown brick, red brick, orange brick, white brick. This is a plant that is perfect with any house color. Great at the front of the border, great in containers. However you want to grow this, you will be so glad you did. So take a chance on Midnight Sun Weigela. I can promise you, you won't be disappointed. So we're gonna end the tour on this plant, Sonic Bloom Pink Weigela. This is by far our best seller in the Sonic Bloom series. People love this plant because obviously it's gorgeous and because it's a powerful rebloomer. So this is what it looks like now. Again, after this bloom fades, it's gonna take a little bit of a rest, and then it's gonna come back, you know, again, probably late July, early August, something like that. All depends on how much new growth it puts on in that period. And it's almost as good as the first bloom. And we love that when we have a reblooming shrub that doesn't just have some flowers when it reblooms, but has a lot of flowers. And this is a great choice. This is kind of your classic Weigela with that twist of reblooming. So if you're going for that nostalgia factor, this is a fantastic choice. Classic pink flowers, bright appley green foliage, good medium size, perfect choice for a hedge, a specimen, really any way that you can think to plant it. Now, like I said, we did not get to all of the Weigela in the Proven Winners Color Choice line because there's just so many, but I hope we showed you a good diversity to get the wheels turning and to think about which Weigela could work for you and provide the interest and beauty that you're looking for in your landscape. So just to wrap up, a couple more things about Weigela. It is deer resistant, very good deer resistance on this plant, so a good choice if you have deer. Of course, larger plants, no problem with rabbits either. Low maintenance, they don't need trimming, but they can be trimmed if you want to. And you're gonna wanna do that right after they finish flowering in early summer. They are generally full sun plants. You're gonna want at least 6 hours of bright sun every day. They're also generally hardy down to about USDA zone 4 and heat tolerant through about USDA zone 8. So there are some exceptions in there within our line, but you can read all about those on our website, which is provenwinnerscolorchoice.com. So I want to thank you all so much for watching and coming along on this Weigela tour and deciding which Weigela is right for you. And please don't forget to like and subscribe if you do like this video and want to see a lot more. Thanks.